If Mother Teresa were alive today, maybe she would look like this woman. Her name is Amina. Amina sold her jewelry, left behind a comfortable life, and built a shelter for abandoned children in Sudan. Every morning, Amina washes their wounds with her own hands. Amina doesn't ask for money. Amina doesn't wait for recognition. Amina simply serves. People around her whisper, she's like Mother Teresa. But who was Mother Teresa really? Was Mother Teresa an angel, a saint, or simply a woman with light and shadows? Like all of us, Mother Teresa's story begins far from the streets of Calcutta. Mother Teresa was born as Anjesu Gongsi Bojaksu in 1910 in a small town called Skopje. The town was simple, quiet, full of narrow streets and stone houses. In that modest place, a little girl with bright eyes ran barefoot through the lanes, full of curiosity, full of questions about the world. Her father, a businessman full of life, died suddenly when she was just 8 years old. That loss left a wound inside her heart. The house that once echoed with laughter grew quiet, heavy, and uncertain. From that moment, it was her mother who became her anchor, her guide, her role model. Her mother was not rich. She had no fortune to pass on, but what she did have was faith and a heart that was open to everyone. Her mother would open the door to beggars, share bread with neighbors even when her own children were hungry, and remind her daughter, never forget the poor. If you have 2 pieces of bread, give one away. Those words became the soil in which the seed of compassion was planted. Mother Teresa was just a little girl, but she absorbed those lessons deeply. She watched her mother give without fear, without pride, without hesitation. That shaped her soul more than any book, more than any sermon. Mother Teresa found comfort in the church. She loved the choir, loved the stillness of prayer, loved whispering to God in silence. Even as a child, Mother Teresa's prayers were not the prayers of a child asking for toys or sweets. Mother Teresa prayed for strength. Mother Teresa prayed for the poor, for strangers, for those she didn't even know by name. Her friends noticed that she was different. While others dreamed of marriage or wealth, Mother Teresa dreamed of service. She felt something stirring in her heart, a thought that would not go away. What if she gave her entire life to God? Not a part of it, not just Sundays. Every breath, every step, every hour. That thought became a decision. At the age of 18, Mother Teresa packed a small bag and walked away from the only world she had known. She said goodbye to her family, knowing she might never see them again. She boarded a train, then a ship, carrying nothing but courage and a deep conviction that God had called her to something greater. The journey was long. First to Ireland, where Mother Teresa joined the Sisters of Loreto. There she studied, prayed, and prepared for a life of teaching. But soon, her path led further to India. Imagine that moment, a young woman stepping into the chaos of Calcutta for the first time. Noise, crowds, rickshaws, the smell of spices, the cries of the poor. For most people, it was overwhelming, but for Mother Teresa, it was destiny. At first, Mother Teresa worked as a teacher. In the safety of her classroom, she taught young girls how to read, how to write, how to pray. But outside those school walls, another world was waiting. Streets filled with the sick, the starving, the dying, children lying under the sun, their ribs visible, their eyes empty. Mother Teresa would walk back to her convent, but those faces followed her. Mother Teresa could not erase them from her mind. At night, she lay awake and heard their cries echoing in her heart. And then came the moment that changed everything. On a train ride, Mother Teresa felt what she later called a call within a call. She said God's voice was clear. Leave the convent, go into the streets, and serve the poorest of the poor. It was a terrifying thought. Leaving her order meant leaving security. No money, no protection, no guarantees, just the streets and the suffering. But Mother Teresa could not ignore that inner voice. So Mother Teresa stepped out, alone, wearing not the habit of her order but the simple clothing of the poor, a plain white sari with a blue border. That sari became her identity, her promise, her vow to live with the poor, as one of them. From that moment, the girl from Skopje became the woman the world would come to know as Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa stepped into the streets of Calcutta with nothing except faith and a white sari. From that moment, her life was no longer about classrooms or lessons on a blackboard. Her classroom became the streets, her students became the poor, her lessons were acts of love. Mother Teresa found people lying on the roadside, abandoned in their final hours. Mother Teresa bent down, lifted them in her frail arms, and carried them to shelter. For the dying, a mat on the floor and a hand to hold was more than a palace. Mother Teresa gave them dignity when the world had taken everything else. Mother Teresa opened homes where the sick could breathe their last without fear. Mother Teresa created orphanages where children with no parents could be held, kissed, and told they were wanted. Mother Teresa started schools where the forgotten could learn to read and dream of a future. She had no wealth, no resources, but she had an unshakable will, and that was enough to move mountains. Day after day, Mother Teresa touched wounds that others refused to look at. Lepers, whose bodies were eaten by disease, found in Mother Teresa a touch that was gentle, a touch without disgust. Hungry children, who had never tasted kindness, were fed by her own hands. Mother Teresa gave not just food, but a sense that their lives mattered. The world began to notice. Journalists arrived with cameras, astonished by this small woman in a white sari working in the filth of Calcutta's streets. Photographs of Mother Teresa cradling the dying spread across nations. Leaders, kings and queens reached out to meet her. Recognition poured in. Medals and awards placed in her hands. The highest honor came when Mother Teresa was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1979. But Mother Teresa never let the applause become her reason. When asked what should be done with the prize money, she directed it all to the poor. To Mother Teresa, a smile on the lips of a dying man was worth more than gold. To Mother Teresa, the first warm meal for a starving child was richer than any crown. To Mother Teresa, the whisper of a forgotten soul saying, "I am loved," was the only reward she sought. Mother Teresa did not build monuments of stone, but monuments of love in human hearts. And yet, her sacrifice was not only about what she gave to others, it was about what she gave up herself. Mother Teresa never married, never had children of her own, never lived a comfortable life. Her bed was hard, her meals were simple, her clothes were the same, sorry, worn, again and again. She denied herself luxuries so that others could taste life. There were days when her body trembled with exhaustion. There were nights when fever gripped her. But still, at dawn, Mother Teresa rose and walked back into the streets. When asked how she endured so much, she answered with words that became her signature. "Not all of us can do great things, but we can do small things with great love." The sacrifices of Mother Teresa were not dramatic gestures performed for the world. They were thousands of small acts, repeated every day, in silence, in humility, in secret corners of the city, washing wounds, holding hands, whispering prayers, feeding the hungry, smiling at the lonely. Those small acts, multiplied by years, became something the whole world could not ignore. And yet, Mother Teresa remained the same. Cameras followed her every step, but Mother Teresa kept her eyes fixed on the poor, not on the fame. Politicians sought her blessing, but Mother Teresa knelt beside beggars. The world called her a saint while she called herself simply a servant. Mother Teresa's life was proof that greatness is not measured in power, but in compassion. That glory is not found in palaces, but in alleys where the forgotten live. That the richest gift a human being can give is not money, but love. Her sacrifice was total. Her life was poured out like water, drop by drop, until the end. Not everyone saw her as a saint. The world praised her, yes, but the world also questioned her. Some who visited her homes for the dying said they lacked proper medical care, that pain relief was not always given, that the dying deserved more comfort than she provided. Others whispered that she believed suffering itself was holy, that instead of trying to end the pain, she embraced it as a path to God. Critics went further, accusing her of accepting donations from questionable leaders, using charity as a stage for politics. Famous writers and skeptics painted her not as an angel, but as a figure who sometimes failed the very people she wanted to help. And yet, the paradox remains, she was the light of Calcutta. But light always casts shadows. She was a woman who gave everything, but also a woman bound by her faith and limits. The truth is not simple. Perhaps she was both the saint who lifted millions, and the flawed human who sometimes stumbled. Maybe that is what makes her story even more powerful. She was not perfection carved in marble, but a fragile, complex soul, who still dared to love. When she died in 1997, the world mourned as if a mother had left. In Calcutta, millions filled the streets. The poor who had once been lifted in her arms wept like children. Leaders across the globe sent tributes. Her body was carried through the same streets where she had once picked up the dying. At her tomb, people prayed, children brought flowers, strangers lit candles. And years later, when the Pope declared her a saint, the world bowed its head again. But perhaps the most meaningful title she ever held was the one the poor gave her, Mother. But her story does not end with her. Her fire did not die in 1997. Her spirit lives on in countless women across the world who carry her mission in their own way. In Sudan, there is Amina. She once lived a comfortable life, with gold jewelry and a home of her own. One day she sold it all, walked away from comfort, and built a shelter for children abandoned in war. Every morning she washes their wounds with her own hands. She doesn't wait for cameras. She doesn't ask for recognition. She simply serves. In Texas, there is Sister Norma, on the border, where migrant families cross deserts with nothing but hope. Sister Norma opens her doors. She gives them food from her own kitchen, water from her own hands. Politicians argue about walls and borders, but she builds bridges of compassion. In India, there is Dr. Pratima, a doctor who could have chosen wealth, but instead chose a colony of leprosy patients. She lives among them, eats with them, dresses their wounds. She touches those whom society refuses to touch, reminding them they are not untouchable, but loved. In Ukraine, as war shook the earth and bombs fell, Elena turned her basement into a home. Orphans with no parents found safety under her roof, even as her own life was at risk. Each night, she whispers stories to the children so they can sleep through the thunder of war. And in Brazil, there is Maria. Once broken herself by addiction, she now runs a home for women escaping abuse. She tells them, "I know your pain, I know your darkness, but love can heal. If it healed me, it can heal you." Her scars became her strength. Her past became a doorway for others to walk through. Each of these women is not perfect. Each of them faces exhaustion, criticism, and doubts. But like Mother Teresa, they chose to serve when it would have been easier to stay silent. They remind us that the story of compassion did not end in Calcutta. It lives on, across continents, in small hidden corners of the world. Perhaps that is the true legacy. Not sainthood carved in stone, not medals placed on a shelf, not flawless perfection, but the reminder that one woman, with nothing but love, can shake the world, and that others can pick up the torch and keep walking. Mother Teresa once said, "Not all of us can do great things, but we can do small things with great love." Maybe that is what she left us. Not an unreachable example, but a simple truth, that love, in action, no matter how small, can change a life. Maybe that is why, even today, her name lives on, not only in history books, not only in prayers, but in the silent work of women and men who choose love over indifference. And maybe, just maybe, her story is not only hers, maybe it is also yours, because the world does not only need saints in books or statues on pedestals. It needs living hearts, beating with compassion. It needs ordinary people who dare to do small things with great love. So ask yourself, what is the small thing you can do? Because one candle can light a room, one act of kindness can change a day, and one life, lived with love, can still shake the whole world. Yet even light casts shadows. Not everyone saw Mother Teresa as a saint. Some who walked through her homes said they found not healing, but waiting rooms for death. Critics whispered, there was medicine, but not enough. There were doctors, but rarely called. Painkillers, often denied. Why? Because Teresa believed suffering itself had meaning. She said pain could bring souls closer to God. To her, a dying man's final prayer mattered more than the comfort of morphine. But not everyone agreed. Journalists wrote that the homes lacked hygiene, that patients could have lived with proper care. Famous voices like Christopher Hitchens called her a friend of poverty, not of the poor. They claimed she glorified suffering, rather than ending it. And then there were the donations. Money from politicians, even dictators, passed into her hands. Some asked, did she look away, so long as the money helped her mission? These questions don't erase her sacrifice, but they complicate it. They remind us that even those we lift as saints are human, driven by faith, shaped by flaws, caught between heaven and earth. Mother Teresa, the angel of Calcutta, was also Teresa, the woman of contradictions. Perhaps that is what makes her story real. She was not perfection carved in stone, but a fragile soul, trying, failing, and trying again.